Not everybody needs a custom gun. These things are everything we can possibly do to a factory gun without changing the scope, the barrel, or the stock. Fully knowing about 25 to 30% better accuracy, but 100% more consistency when you go to the range. First thing we do is we bring the gun and we tear it apart and evaluate it. 90% of the problems that we have is, John will back me on this, over oiling. Slows the spring tension down in your lock time, and the gun, if it does go off, doesn't give you full charge. So you're gonna hit low or it's gonna misfire. So that's the first thing we do. Tear the gun apart, look at problems. After we get that done, we lap your lugs. As you slide the bolt into the action, you have your square raceways. As you turn it down, it locks internally vertically to the receiver. If both these mating surfaces, which we call lugs, are not 100% contact, when you fire the gun, it torques. So consequently, two things happen. You're relying on one lug, which puts a lot of stress on the one lug, but even more, it flexes to make sure that it makes contact with it, and you have a little poor accuracy and misalignment with your chamber. We touch up the crown, we adjust your trigger. The triggers today, most of the triggers are 7 to 8 pounds. Reason being is, people don't maintain their weapons, the guns get dirty, they put it in an unsafe direction, then we have a catastrophic problem. 3.5 pound trigger is a nice clean trigger. As you get target acquisition, you grab the trigger, you're concentrating on the crosshairs, you start to pull the trigger, it goes off. So if you're not familiar with a light trigger, 3.5 pound trigger is what I personally recommend. Lapping your barrel. Again, a huge thing. If you have pitting in there, it's going to engage and give you poor bullet flight. If you have a gun that doesn't seem to shoot as well as it did prior, you could have a little rust in it, or you could have a copper buildup in your throat area. So that needs to be addressed. Lapping your scope rings, so they're perpendicular to the axis of the bore, and there's a stress-free environment, so it doesn't collapse your tube. Bedding and free floating, huge thing. When you bed a rifle, you're physically marrying the action area and the barrel to the stock. So the only thing the screws are doing is holding the barreled action in place. So you're no longer requiring the screws to hold left and right and longitudinally.
You can see here the barrel then is free floated. It's not
completely free floated.
So there's nothing that could change the barrel harmonics.
Correct. So what happens is the gun vibrates. You have 58 to 68,000 PSI going down the barrel. So as a barrel vibrates, it has to come back like a tuning fork to a natural given harmonic. If it doesn't, the next round is not going to be point of impact. So you want to marry that barreled action to the stock. And last but not least, install lap and bore sight. And we do all that for $344 is our standard. And we run a show special during the winter months at the shows. And we try to give a guy the best accuracy that we can without changing his scope, his barrel, or his stock. You bring the gun in, we'll do it while you wait.